So yeah, just like my previous video where I reviewed the new Silver Wolf, now it's finally time to talk about Elation MC, or you could say the Elation Trailblazer. And yeah, I know, this video is a bit late. V4 is literally just hours away by the time I upload this. But honestly, I just need to get this out of my system. I feel like doing a proper V3 review of Elation MC is something I have to do. As you already know, with every new world, we get a new path for the main character, and this time, it's the path of Elation. We already had a glimpse of Hoyoverse's direction back in V1, but since it was still early, I didn't expect it to stay that way. That's why I waited until V3 to form a more objective opinion. Because trust me, if I had talked about it earlier, it probably would have turned into a full-on Doom Post video. So the question is, was it really that bad? Well, let's find out. So going into this, I actually had pretty high hopes. Elation MC started off looking quite solid, but it was clear from the beginning that they still needed some buffs to really compete with Remembrance MC and Harmony MC. Unfortunately, there really isn't much difference between V1 and V3. Not a lot changed, but there is one change that I feel like people aren't talking about enough, and that is Elation MC's E6. Originally, E6 didn't just copy Elation skill effects, it could also copy the ultimate effect of a targeted ally. And just think about that for a second. At the time, I was imagining scenarios where you could copy something like Cyrene's ultimate and essentially trigger your team's ultimate effects twice. That sounds completely insane, and honestly, maybe even too good to be true. But the thing is, we never really got to see it in action. There were basically 0 showcases demonstrating how broken that interaction could be, so we'll probably never know how strong it actually was. And then, before we even had the chance to test it properly, Hoyoverse changed it. Instead of copying ultimate effects, E6 now only gives around 12% speed to a targeted ally. And I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that change in V3, I was genuinely frustrated. Like, seriously? That's such a massive downgrade in terms of potential. So if it's not obvious already, there's a lot to unpack here. Let's break it down properly by looking at Elation MC's kit first. So what does Elation MC actually do? It's very, very simple. Elation MC copies the Elation skill of one targeted ally and uses it. That's it. Simple, right? In fact, it's so simple that when V1 first dropped, I started asking myself, what's actually special about this kit? I kept thinking about it, and honestly, I couldn't find anything that really stood out. Not convinced? Let me give you an example. Think about Yao Guang. If you remember her kit, her ultimate essentially achieves the same goal, but it does it better. Still not clear? Yao Guang's ultimate triggers an aha instant, which means she not only gives 20 or even 40 punchline to the entire team, but also activates every ally's Elation skill at once. So now the question becomes, why would you want to copy the Elation skill of a single ally when Yao Guang can do it for the entire team in one go? And that's where I really start to question the design. Because right now, the purpose of Elation MC just doesn't feel clear at all. What Elation MC truly lacks is identity. When Harmony MC and Remembrance MC were released, they each brought something completely new to the table. Harmony MC introduced Super Break and that infamous S5 Dance 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 synergy. Remembrance MC brought in true damage and the whole Memo Sprite mechanic. Both of them had such strong identities that even when better units came out, it was still hard to replace them completely. But Elation MC? It doesn't have that. So what exactly does Elation MC bring that's new? Honestly, nothing. Copying Elation skill? Yao Guang already does it better and on a full team scale. Damage buff? It's minimal, mostly just crit damage on ultimate, and even that is not impressive. Back in V1, I thought the ability to copy ultimate effects could have been Elation MC's saving grace. That was something unique. That was something interesting. But then it got removed, and that completely killed my expectations. Now what's left? A unit that feels empty. At best, Elation MC ends up being a backup option for players who skipped Yao Guang or Sparksy in version 4.0. And honestly, that's a really disappointing position for a main character. Even if you argue that copying Elation skills is useful, you have to look at the current state of those skills. Most of them are just not impactful. Yao Guang's Elation skill is mostly extra damage. Sparksy? Also just damage. Eva and even the new Silver Wolf, their elation skills aren't game-defining either. So it makes the decision even more confusing. Why would Hoyoverse go from copying Ultimate plus Elation skill to just copying Elation skill only? That's not an upgrade. That's a downgrade in both power and identity. And honestly, it's frustrating. It almost feels like Elation MC was intentionally designed to be underwhelming, just so players would move on to other characters faster. At this point, in V3, I can't even sugarcoat it. Elation MC just feels bad. I honestly don't think Hoyoverse will change Elation MC that much. But if they do decide to adjust the kit, there is one direction I can realistically see them taking. There's a stat introduced with the Elation system called merrymaking. I'll put it on screen for reference, but essentially, Elation damage is partially calculated using merrymaking as one of its multipliers. And if you remember, right now Yaoguang E6 is the only source of this buff. So the question is, why can't Elation MC have access to it as well? This would be the simplest and most logical fix. Now, will it completely solve Elation MC's problems? Honestly, not really. But it would still be far better than the current design, where the kit revolves around copying Elation skills that don't feel impactful in the first place. At the very least, giving Elation MC a unique merrymaking buff would provide some kind of identity and scaling value. I'm actually fine with Elation MC being a single target focused unit. That's not the issue. The real problem is that the multipliers are just too low, and the payoff isn't there. So if Hoyoverse wants to improve Elation MC without completely reworking the kit, the best approach would be to add merrymaking scaling while keeping the Elation skill copy mechanic. Even then, I still think it wouldn't be enough. Personally, I believe the best version of Elation MC would have been the one that kept the ultimate copying mechanic. That was unique, that was interesting, that had real potential. But, well, that ship has already sailed. So to summarize, yes, Elation MC feels bad right now. Yes, Elation MC lacks identity. Nothing about the kit feels cohesive or impactful, especially when you compare it to something like Remembrance MC or Harmony MC. There is a potential saving grace though. If Hoyoverse brings back the old E6 ultimate copy mechanic and combines it with something like a merrymaking buff, then maybe, Elation MC can actually stand on its own. But outside of that, there's really not much going for the kit at the moment. Of course, Hoyoverse can always surprise us. They've done it before. Although, after what happened with Ceridra and Cyrene, I'm not exactly holding my breath. But hey, I'll keep coping anyway. So that's everything for today's video. Now I want to hear from you. Is Elation MC actually good? Or is it just straight up trash? Do you think the kit is already strong enough? Or does it still need serious buffs to even compete? Or maybe you think I completely missed the mark? Let me know in the comments. I'll be reading everything. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps support the channel. And as always, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye!